Alright, Diablo 4 Druids, it is now time to lock in with finally a good build for the class. It's looking to be one of the best classes in Season 9, running the brand new Lightbringer unique Ancestral Mace over here, giving us not only a chance for Pulverize to activate twice, but we get these Poison Puddles. That's the brand new way to play the Druid. So what we're getting as a brand new buff that you guys won't see in the gameplay because I'm dropping this build guide early. This is from the test server that I was able to test, and you would get these poison puddles every 10 seconds. That's that green puddle over there. Now with the new updated one that's coming out specifically in Season 9 with the update, you guarantee get this puddle. It used to be every 10 seconds you get to spawn a puddle, but now it is every single time. As long as there's no puddle around you, you get to spawn in these poison puddles that deal 100% guaranteed overpower damage, which is super busted, and then you get a big amount of a splash damage, which can overlap. They showed off some gameplay in their campfire chat, and to kind of visualize this, because these are each circles here, this is two different pulverizes. You can see in blue I've marked kind of where the circle is for the poison puddle, but then in this red area is where there is like an overlap. Ideally you want to try to get as many overlaps as possible. Just like any other game, they call it shotgunning in action RPG, where you can get basically multiple attacks to hit the same target. That's ideally what you want to do, so keep that in mind when you are playing this build with, of course, the update when you can get multiple puddles. The gameplay is like the once every 10 seconds one, which is the only footage that any content creator has. So make sure that you use this. Another thing, for some reason they showed off inside of the campfire chat, they showed someone having a greater affix on resource cost reduction. You do not want resource cost reduction in this build. The reason why is your ancestral guidance will not activate. So if you get a greater affix resource cost reduction one, that either means you are not going to be able to run Ring of the Starless Skies or any other sources of resource cost reduction, because that will actually make your skill potentially cost 0, which is bad because you need ancestral guidance as a multiplier. So ideally you just get a greater affix on the Pulverize. That's like the best choice, but the rest of them, if you get greater affix, it's not that big of a deal. It's usually good, but you do not, and I repeat, you do not want greater affix resource cost reduction, because again, your ancestral guidance will not work. It's actually a bad thing that they put this on this item, especially because if you masterwork it and it's a G8, well, it's going to cost so low in terms of the resources that you don't get the bonus damage. So keep that in mind as well. All right, so where do we get this brand new item, as it is very, very important to get this item in order for this build to come up online? So where you can get the Rotting Lightbringer, that's the name, by the way, of the brand new two-handed mace. So where you can get this is Varshan as well as Urivar. So you want to farm these bosses in the Tormented difficulty in order to get the Rotting Lightbringer unique. So you want this item. All right, so now let's go into the skill choices. So for starters, there's only really like 3 skills that every single build will play. There's a couple variants that you can play, and I did put them in the notes here. So the skill that everyone's going to be playing, obviously it's a Pulverized build, so you need to run Pulverize. Then you also want to play Debilitating Roar to give you damage reduction as well as increased damage. And then you play Grisly Rage, which will go into a Dire Werebear. And I know it says that it lasts 10 seconds, but if you watch the gameplay, with the exception of going into another zone, you're going to have it up 100% of the time. Also, when you activate Grisly Rage, it will delete the rest of your skills that are non-Werebear or non-Companion. We don't really need to push any of the companion skills. If you want to, you can get like Fortification, you can get a crowd control here, you can also get free extra crit with Ravens, but we're actually using it to activate the Nagu rune. And you don't have to push any of these buttons, they're not really that important, honestly. You can play whatever you want, but just keep in mind that majority of skills that you equip, if they're non-Werebear, if you activate your Grisly Rage, your whole skill bar basically is different. You cannot equip a lot of the non-Werebear skills. Companions is like an exception, but yeah, that's just a quick little note. You can play other things if you want to, like Cyclone Armor. You can even play Trample. Play what you want to. But as far as the spirit boons go, we are playing the wariness on the deer. Then with eagle as like our main one, we get the scythe talons as well as crit strike damage. You can also get the HP on eagle, but now since overpower does not scale off of HP, you don't really need that one as much. And then with wolf, we extend the duration of our ultimate, and then with snake, we get every 10th kill causes our next earth skill to overpower, which of course this becomes an earth skill with the brand new aspect update. So as far as the gear goes, I would say this build is definitely playable without the mythics. I can also drop a non-mythic variant of the build, but it's not something super important for the build. However, it is a pretty nice addition, specifically specifically because on the helmet you don't normally get critical strike chance. So if you don't happen to get like an Air of Perdition or the Ring of Starless Skies, make sure that ideally you try to get a GA on crit on one of the other rings, as you do want to try to get 100% crit in any Diablo build, and it's not super hard to get with this build. But without Air of Perdition, it makes things a lot more challenging. But if you can get this helmet, that's great. Shroud of False Death is great, or any other defensive aspect here is totally fine. And then for the gloves, we run the aspect of Ursine Horror. So what's really cool is Pulverize is now a Earth skill, which is awesome. And then ideally you try to get ranks to Pulverize. Another thing I want to mention in the offensive category, so I rolled all Werebear offensive overpower damage. You can also get increased duration of the Grizzly Rage. You will get less damage, but I promise you guys are going to be able to stay in your Grizzly Rage, which is the ultimate form, the whole time, because every single time you're killing or attacking, it just increases the duration. You can 100% uptime your Grizzly Rage now. However, in the very earlier stages, if you're in between going into packs, again, if you're going and teleporting back to town, it's going to fall off. But as long as you're attacking, you do not need to get that. And then over in the pants category, you can run Tibalt's, but one problem that you'll have in the earlier stages when you play Tibalt's is you don't have that 1000 armor, which will make your build feel very squishy. So if you want to get like Tassets of the Dawning Sky or even like Tibalt's, you can swap those in and out, but you do definitely want to try to get armor in the amulet in terms of one of the rolls, or you can get it in your pants, and then you can put another temper on the defensive category, which is total armor, which will then give you the cap much easier because you run a lot of uniques in the build. And then for the boots, we're just playing a regular pair of boots with the ballistic. This one is very important because it gives you bonuses to your earth skills, which are also your Pulverize will count as an earth skill, so you'll get the bonus. The aspect of the quicksand, by the way, just activates a crowd control. You could play anything that you want in the category of the pants. Again, Tibalt's will give you more damage, but you'll lose on the armor. You can play Juggernauts here. You can play pretty much whatever aspect that you want. You can run the one that can daze the targets too, that's okay. And the weapon slot, I have it empty, but remember, you want Rotting Lightbringer, and you want the chance for Pulverize to hit twice, and then the highest roll on like the damage. This goes up to 600x now with the newest update. And then for the amulet, we want to make sure that we put the shockwave aspect in here. This is for Pulverize to get the big damage boost. We can also get ranks to Envenom. Some of the passives on the skill tree may not reflect the live servers because this is like early before it's coming out. But basically, you're just looking for kind of the same thing. You can get crit, you can get willpower, any of the offensive ones. Ideally, though, Envenom is kind of the one that you want to shoot for if you can kind of roll that one onto the amulet, because getting willpower is kind of one of the most important things, or your main stat for any build in terms of like a percent. It's usually pretty easy to roll on the amulet. And then we run Ring of the Starless Skies. Pretty much anything except for a lucky hit chance is ideal in terms of like getting GAs. You don't have to get like a triple GA. It's just that like if you get any of those are totally fine. And then we run the aspect of the Rabid Bear. So this one's a newer one that got updated. So when Grizzly Rage is active, our direct damage is converted into poison. And then you have this spread of rabies. Do not put points into rabies. You cannot scale rabies as far as I am aware of. I tried making this build all about rabies. It's terrible. That skill has just been in the gutter since the start of this game, really. But what you can get here is on the offensive category, you can see I put on the ring, you can get Grizzly Rage Duration or Werebear Overpower. It depends on your rolls if you need it, but you can also get as a resource, because you can't throw technically two offensive ones, but I just wanted to make a note. You can get this anywhere. Like you can choose to get Werebear Overpower or Duration. You really don't need the duration here, but there's a lot of cooldown reduction on a lot of the like ultimates, and you could just get that. You can get the Grizzly Rage cooldown reduction, so again, as a resource, but anywhere you can select either one and it is totally fine. That can be in the amulet. If you really feel like you need it in the gloves, go for it. Obviously the weapon is unique, so you can't run it. Now, moving on to the runes, I like to run Nagu and Ohm, so this is going to give us some extra increased damage, or any other rune here. There's so many other great ones. I like running Neo and Vex because we're going to be gaining barriers with the Bottled Wind, which is really good. We run Disintegrate, and we activate it with Pulverize for the Horadric spellcraft powers. We're actually running the cold one over here instead of Poison, because while we do get some extra bonuses with Poison, for the most part, your damage all comes from specifically the Pulverize. If you want to run the Poison one, by all means go for it, because you also have a slow when you activate your aspect of Quicksand, because it's going to be an Earth skill with Pulverize, so you get the bonus anyways. but this will guarantee dealing that cold damage, which will then chill the enemies so you have them affected by crowd control instantly. We also run Reactive Ooze. This is how we have infinite resources. This is going to be something that a lot of people will run into where they run out of resources. Pulverize is very heavy on resources, but you can see no problem at all. And then we run Sapping Crux, so we can apply vulnerability, and Bottle Wind just to have extra tankiness. It was also really good back when HP mattered, because if you have more HP, you get more damage, but it doesn't really matter too much because fortification and your HP does not give you more overpower, but it's still really good for the defensive category. It's just like free extra barrier pretty much the whole time. And then for our gems, this is what we apply over here. It's kind of like the standard thing that you expect to see. So you get extra willpower and then you get overpower, but you definitely want to throw in your rune word in your weapon. So the gems that we're playing are going to be Scornful Light, so we get some extra elemental damage, which will be the poison. And then we have the Idol from Below, which gives us extra primary stat and more HP. And then we have the Horadric Crest that's going to give us extra damage reduction and more resistances. You can also run the cooldown on your Disintegrate. Play whatever one that you want, to be honest, so this isn't really that important. Just don't play the Starfall, because that one has a really long cooldown reduction, so it's kind of flexible on what you play over there. Now, moving on to the skill tree, I'll go ahead and make this a little bit bigger for you guys. So for starters, the first 2 points literally don't matter. If you want to play the build that can do quick shift, you can put it in a claw. I don't even equip it anyways, but there's also fortification that you could technically run on your left click, but you just want to spam Pulverize. There's really no need to push anything else. And then we're going to get the more damage over here, getting increased spirit. And then we can also get the extra critical strike chance. We can also get Iron Fur for damage reduction. And then we're going to get this increased damage over here. It's pretty much the same things that you've seen in every single build. There's not really anything super important that's like brand new to the season, other than the poison nodes, which I'll mention. We put just 1 point into these two, but with Ravens, we want these 2 additional Ravens, because in order for Nagu to actually function and get the max value, you do want to get as many companions as possible. This way we can max out, because we get 2 Wolves, 1 Poison Creeper, and 3 Ravens, which will give us a total of 3 plus 2, so that's already going to be 5, and then this is our 6th one for Nagu to activate, and we get all of the bonuses to like the crowd controlled enemies. You could also take Trample. This is another option. We get the extra damage with the Earth skills, but Shroud of False Death, we get all of these small nodes, so it really helps out. So Toxic Claws, this is another update. This one used to give, I think it was like Shred would then apply poison, but now it's just a multiplier on poison, so that's good. We get some extra damage over here, and then we get Grizzly Rage, and then we also get this one. This one's optional. If you want to take this one, it's really not that bad. Honestly, you can just remove any other point and take this one, but you're going to have a lot of the fortification built up anyways with just this when you have Shroud of False Death, because it's just, you crit every single time anyways, and this is just more so for min-maxing. To be honest though, I would say you could take 1 point out of any of the offensive ones and then just put it into fortification if you want to. It's kind of up to you, but I'll probably end up updating this one, because once you get 100% crit, you proc this every single time anyway. So every single time you attack, you get 3% of that fortification. And you're going to have fortification the whole time anyways. And then we just get extra damage here, and then we're going to get this Ursine Strength, so we get extra overpowered damage bonus, which is awesome. These other ones are not that bad. If you want to play it, you can, but I would not recommend Catastrophe, because you're going to stay in your ultimate form pretty much the whole time, and the cooldown of this skill does not start until you actually get to have the Grizzly Rage wear off. So that's kind of important to mention, which kind of sucks with cooldown, because as much cooldown as you have, you can't like basically get your Grizzly Rage up again. It basically stays on, because how it works is every single time that you kill something, or you actually overpower like a boss, it's going to extend the duration. So again, that's how you keep this up the whole time for the Grizzly Rage. Now, as far as the Paragon board, we're going to be starting out with Spirit, and then we're going to be moving on to Survival Instincts over here, and then we're going to be putting in Keeper. Remember, we're going to be dealing non-physical, aka elemental damage. Basically anything that isn't physical damage is what we're going for, and it converts all of our damage into poison with this build. And then we run Ancestral Guidance. This is the thing that I was talking about, where you do not want resource cost reduction. I'm aware that Ring of the Star of the Skies will give that to you, which is going to be in pretty much every single build, but again, on this, you do not want a greater affix on resource cost reduction, because that will actually mess your build up, because then you will not spend that 75 spirit every 5 seconds, which you do want to get. So This is something, again, I'm mentioning it twice here because I know that some people are going to be losing out on a big amount of damage because it's 40x damage here. And then on top of that, the ultimates actually do increase damage per spirit when casted as well. So keep that in mind. And then after we get the Ancestral Guidance here, we're going to be getting Dominate, so it's for the overpower. And then we run into Heightened Malice with Headhunter. If you want to put more points into like the willpower, that's fine, but pretty much you don't really need to try to get every single point. This is where you get to put in like extra points if you want to. And then we have Earth and Devastation at the bottom over here, which is where your Earth skills deal increased damage and increased damage to crowd controlled. And remember that your Pulverize will then become an Earth skill, so you can actually run like the it's like nature magic bonus damage. But I like to play Werebear because it makes your health pool just much better. So it's called Earth and Sky. So you can run Earth and Sky or Werebear here for the final node. I just like this one because it gives you additional damage reduction, as we do not take one of like the bonuses that gives you like the extra HP. Instead, we take this one and just mathing it out. This one just kind of gives you a little bit more bang for your buck. So you get the damage reduction here, and then you get extra crit in another area. So that way it makes it a lot easier versus getting that 100% crit. And I'll go ahead and mention the node over here. So yeah, it's on the Eagle. So yeah, I believe it's actually like 15 crit. They buffed it at some point, but the Sight Talons, if you already receive 100% crit, then you can drop this, and then you can get you can swap something else out if you want to. You can get even more damage again if you play the Earth and Sky. But I like that damage reduction here. It's just a little bit better. And then we get all like the normal stuff that you would see. You get all the extra HP nodes, and you get all the like the most important thing really is just getting this one over here, Keeper. There's some extra like life nodes that you can grab, and Keeper in here gives you bonuses to all the rare nodes within range. So that's just one thing to note that is kind of nice to hit. And I put this one on the second board because it's easier to reach. But if you're playing the Shroud of False Death, which gives you to all stats, then it's pretty easy to usually max out on most of the bonuses with the yellow nodes. But that's going to be one of the top tier Druid build guides for Season 9. Have some fun, guys. This is probably one of the most fun times that you'll have with Druid because the class has never really been in a good spot. So it's awesome to see that we have like a fun, brand new way to play. And yeah, 100% chance to overpower guaranteed is very nice. But if there's an update to this build, I will update you guys. But for now, this is what we're looking at for the Druid. This is the build to lock in and play. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell, and I will update you guys if there's any other changes with this build, and I'll just kind of be constantly updating the planner if things do change and we figure out like you can poison puddle with your teammates poison puddle, because there's a lot of stuff that is unknown with the brand new update. But that's gonna wrap it up. Enjoy, guys, and also the planner will be linked down below as well as in the pin. But anyways, have fun.